It happened on a warm Sunday afternoon right in front of the Whole Foods on 3rd and Lexington. No sirens, no chase, just the ordinary hum of weekend life. Families picking up vegetables, dogs barking playfully on leashes, kids sipping juice boxes while parents browsed the organic aisle. The air was filled with a kind of gentle chaos only a sunny day in the city can bring. Then came a scream, followed by a hard, echoing thud, and silence. Every head turned. A black woman lay sprawled across the sidewalk, her body twisted awkwardly next to a burst grocery bag. Apples rolled into the street. A carton of eggs had cracked near the curb, yolk spreading in a sticky trail. A bottle of almond milk had popped open, oozing its contents onto the concrete like a quiet spill of innocence. And the man who had shoved her was a uniformed police officer. Officer Brent Kelsey, white, tall, built like he spent more time deadlifting than patrolling. His hand rested on his belt, just close enough to the taser to make people nervous. His posture radiated arrogance, power, entitlement. "Get up," he barked. The woman didn't move right away. She looked like she was in her late 30s, athletic build, dressed in a dark business blazer, joggers, and white sneakers. Her elbow was scraped and bleeding. One of her heels, cheap but practical, had snapped clean off. But her face wasn't pained or panicked. It was calm, too calm, like the kind of stillness that doesn't mean peace, but control. She rose, slowly, not because she was injured, but because she wanted every eye watching to understand she wasn't just getting up, she was remembering, calculating, preparing. "You pushed me," she said, voice low but sharp. "In public, without provocation." Officer Kelsey scoffed. "You were blocking a fire lane. I told you to move." "She was nowhere near it," shouted a bystander, a young white guy gripping a cold brew. "I saw the whole thing." Kelsey turned to him. "Move along." But no one moved. The crowd thickened. Phones were raised. A little girl in a stroller began crying. Someone muttered, "This isn't okay." Others murmured in agreement. Still, Kelsey didn't back down. His gaze swept the scene like a king surveying his territory. His badge glinted in the sunlight as if it granted him immunity, authority without consequences. But the woman, she bent down slowly, gathered her phone, her wallet, a pack of gum, and a leather folder that had slid from her tote bag. When she stood again, the folder's contents had shifted, exposing a sheet of paper. On it, a logo, Department of Justice. Several people gasped. Kelsey's eyes locked on the emblem. His jaw tightened, just slightly. The woman noticed, but she said nothing. Instead, she stared at him, really stared, like she was memorizing his face, like something inside her had just clicked into place. Then she turned and walked away, not limping, not rushing, just leaving. And yet, the silence she left behind felt heavier than anything she could have screamed. By that evening, the video was everywhere. 42 seconds of shaky cell phone footage uploaded to Twitter, then reposted to TikTok, Facebook, and a dozen news blogs. The caption read, "Racist cop shoves woman with DOJ credentials outside Whole Foods." By Monday morning, it had racked up 2.3 million views. People were outraged, outspoken, but Officer Brent Kelsey, he strutted into the precinct like it was just another day on the job. "Bunch of liberals overreacting," he muttered as he poured himself a coffee. She was in the way. Two younger officers exchanged a glance. One of them slid his phone across the table. The video was paused on the moment the woman hit the pavement. "She had DOJ credentials, Brent," the officer said quietly. Kelsey shrugged. "So, everyone waves a badge around these days. Doesn't mean they're important." But his hand trembled slightly as he lifted the cup. Because deep down, something unsettled him. Not the video, not the crowd. Her silence, her calm, her refusal to scream or shout. She didn't make a scene. She didn't demand justice, because she didn't need to. She would build it, one document at a time. And her name? Monica Ellis. He didn't know it yet, but Brent Kelsey had made the worst mistake of his career, not because he used force, not because he was recorded, but because he shoved the wrong woman. A woman who didn't rant, a woman who didn't protest, a woman who worked inside the very system that would soon tear him down from the inside out. This wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. The cafe in Arlington was quiet. Not the cozy kind of quiet, but the strategic kind. Tucked behind a law office, frequented by people in suits, earbuds in, folders out. Monica Ellis sat at the far end near the window, a steaming cup of mint tea beside her laptop. Her blazer was folded neatly on the chair beside her. her expression unreadable. She wasn't tweeting. She wasn't giving interviews. She was typing. Line by line, she built the foundation of something that would shake the ground Officer Kelsey stood on. A preliminary misconduct report initiated under the Department of Justice's Oversight Authority. Not many people had the clearance to open one. She did. And she didn't need public outrage to do her job. She just needed facts, footage, records, witness accounts, and she had all three. Meanwhile, back at the precinct, Officer Kelsey wasn't sweating yet. He swaggered through the halls like nothing had happened, sipping vending machine coffee and cracking jokes with the few officers who still dared to laugh. But others weren't laughing. They saw the video, they read the comments, they saw the face of the woman he shoved, and they knew something he didn't. They had seen that face before in briefings, in oversight meetings, in interdepartmental reviews. Monica Ellis wasn't just some lady with a fancy badge. She was internal affairs, federal internal affairs. And she didn't show up by accident. That afternoon, Kelsey was called into the captain's office. The mood was different this time, tense, thick. The captain didn't offer a seat. He just tossed a printed copy of the civilian complaint across the desk. "You need to lay low," he said flatly. "We're getting calls, city council, oversight board, and now DOJ. Kelsey rolled his eyes. "I didn't do anything wrong. She was difficult. She wouldn't move." "You pushed her," the captain snapped. "On camera, in uniform, and she's not some nobody. She's got credentials. Federal." "So what?" Kelsey barked. "They flash those badges like they're gods. I've seen it before. It doesn't mean she's special." The captain leaned forward, voice low. "She doesn't need to be special. She's in the system. She doesn't tweet. She doesn't blog. She builds cases, Kelsey." There was a pause. Then Kelsey scoffed again and stormed out, shoulders stiff. But the moment he entered the locker room, the noise died. Two officers stopped mid-sentence. One looked away. The other slipped his phone into his locker. Kelsey froze. "What?" he demanded. "You got something to say?" Silence. But it said enough. That night, Monica sat at her dining table with 3 monitors glowing in front of her. Body cam footage, patrol logs, internal memos. She wasn't just reviewing her own incident. She was reviewing his entire record. As a DOJ agent with oversight clearance, she had access to more than most. And what she found was damning. Unreported traffic stops, overuse of force, multiple aggressive interactions with black residents, a history of intimidation buried behind the thin blue wall. There were 2 internal complaints marked closed due to lack of evidence. And then one sealed settlement, a payout, quiet, hidden. That one caught her attention. She dug deeper, cross-referenced shift logs with civilian complaints, matched badge numbers with timestamps from security cams. Patterns began to form, not speculation, not gut-feeling data. It wasn't just misconduct. It was systemic, repetitive, predictable. And that's what made it dangerous. She picked up the phone. "Director's office," a voice answered. "This is Ellis," she said. "I'm initiating a formal inquiry into an active duty officer in the 8th District. Documents en route." There was no emotion in her voice, no bitterness, just clarity. Because while Kelsey was busy ranting about liberals and cancel culture, Monica was doing what she'd been trained to do: follow procedure, connect the dots, and build a case strong enough to withstand a storm. And the storm, it was already brewing. The next morning, Kelsey burst into the captain's office again. "I want a public statement," he snapped. "This department needs to defend me. They're making me look like a villain over a 30-second clip." The captain didn't flinch. "She's got a federal case file the size of your ego," he said. "And this morning I got a call from the assistant U.S. attorney." Kelsey froze. That name carried weight. Still, he forced a smirk. "So let them investigate. They'll find nothing. I've done everything by the book." "No, Brent," the captain said quietly. "You've been rewriting the book, and someone just found your original draft." That night, Monica didn't sleep much. She sat at her desk, adding footnotes, legal citations, and witness statements. Then came an email, subject line, "confidential tip." She clicked. A woman's voice, trembling over voicemail. "Officer Kelsey. He pushed me too. Last year, outside a club. I tried to file a report, but they said, no witnesses, no video." That it weighs. Monica didn't flinch. She hit record, took notes, filed it under a new tab, supporting incidents, pattern development. And for the first time in years, the system that had once buried this kind of testimony was finally about to listen. It started with a whisper, a woman's trembling voice on Monica's voicemail. "He shoved me too. Last year, outside a bar on East Monroe. I was just waiting for my Uber." She hadn't told anyone. The bruises healed, but the memory hadn't. That call unlocked something. Within 24 hours, 2 more voicemails landed in Monica's inbox. Then 5, then 8. All from different women, all black, all with eerily similar stories. No video footage, no witnesses willing to go on record, no accountability, just the same name. Officer Brent Kelsey. One woman had been stopped outside a church, another near her apartment complex. One had been 7 months pregnant. Another was detained in front of her teenage son for allegedly talking back. Monica listened to each one, eyes sharp, jaw clenched. But her pen moved steadily. Names, dates, times, badge numbers, case file references, everything logged, everything connected. It wasn't random. It was a pattern, a blueprint. The more Monica dug, the clearer it became. Brent Kelsey had been abusing his power for years. Always with the same demographic, always under the same pretense of non-compliance. And always with just enough plausible deniability to keep his record clean. Until now. Meanwhile, Kelsey was still strutting through the precinct like he owned it. The younger officers had gone quiet around him, but he chalked it up to jealousy or fear. He still had his badge, didn't he? Still carried a weapon? Still took his patrol car out every shift. The department hadn't made a public statement, and as far as he was concerned, that meant he was in the clear. "They're not going to touch me," he muttered to a fellow officer in the break room. "Not after what happened last summer. The department needs guys like me. Tough skin, no apologies." But even as he said it, something in his voice faltered, because deep down he knew. Something was shifting. That Thursday, Monica received a file that had been redacted for years. An old complaint from a rookie officer, long since transferred, who had tried to report Kelsey for excessive force during a routine stop. The report had been buried, coded as inconclusive, but Monica found the original copy, with signatures and timestamps, and enough detail to verify the story. She added it to the case folder and updated the classification. Pattern confirmed. Recommend escalation. She sent the file to the DOJ Civil Rights Division and copied the Assistant U.S. Attorney's Office. This was no longer just an internal inquiry. It was about to go federal. And still, Kelsey doubled down. That weekend, during a routine traffic stop, he pulled over a black couple driving home from a wedding. There was no probable cause, no citation issued. Just intimidation. And this time the passenger, a woman in a navy blue dress, makeup still fresh from the reception, live-streamed the entire stop. She had 80,000 followers. The video hit Instagram like wildfire. Officer Kelsey harassing another innocent couple, live footage from tonight, no cause given. By morning, the hashtags were back. Justice for Monica, nar pattern of abuse, suspend Kelsey now. The mayor's office was flooded with calls. The city council scheduled an emergency session. Even the governor's team reached out, asking not so subtly if the city had a grip on the situation. On Sunday evening, Monica sat in her apartment, the glow of the city outside casting soft light through the blinds. Her desk was covered in files, but her eyes were on one page. A handwritten note from the woman who'd called her first. It read, "I thought no one would believe me. Thank you for making space." Monica folded it carefully, slipped it into a drawer, and returned to her screen. She opened a fresh document. Typed 2 words, pattern confirmed. Then she picked up her phone. "Ellis here," she said. "I'm invoking federal override. Officer Kelsey's conduct now qualifies for emergency review. I want him off duty immediately, and I want a meeting with the U.S. Attorney's Office before end of day tomorrow." The voice on the other end didn't hesitate. "Understood." Monday morning, the precinct buzzed with tension. 2 black sedans parked out front. Inside, 2 federal agents waited near the entrance, badges out, expressions unreadable. Captain Reynolds looked up from his desk as the knock came. "You know why we're here," one of the agents said. He nodded. "I do." 10 minutes later, Brent Kelsey stood at his locker, mid-sentence with another officer, when the captain approached. "Brent," he said, his voice low but firm, "come with me." Kelsey raised an eyebrow. "Now what?" The captain didn't answer. Didn't need to. He just handed over the suspension paperwork. "Effective immediately. Pending federal investigation." Kelsey laughed. "This is a joke." But no one was laughing. He was escorted down the hallway, past the same officers who used to laugh at his jokes, past the sergeants who once defended his reports, and then into a small, unmarked interview room. Badge removed, gun surrendered, and for the first time in his career, Officer Brent Kelsey had to sit down and listen, because when the door opened, it wasn't the captain, it wasn't a union rep, it was Monica Ellis, badge on, folder in hand, eyes cold. "Officer Kelsey," she said, her voice steady, "I'm here to ask you a few questions." He stared at her. You're leading this?" "I am." "That's a conflict of interest." "No," she replied, "that's jurisdiction." She dropped a stack of files on the table. Thud. Body cam stills, civilian complaints, old reports, new testimony, photos, audio transcripts. Then one final document, a sworn affidavit from a former officer who had once tried to report him and had been silenced. "You've got a pattern," Monica said quietly, "a long, violent one." He leaned back. The smirk was gone. The arrogance drained from his face. And the silence in that room? It wasn't confusion. It was consequence. The courtroom was full. Not just of lawyers and journalists, but people, ordinary people, mothers, students, former neighbors, women who had come forward, men who had once stayed quiet. A few held hands, others clutched printed copies of the DOJ report. Everyone had eyes on one man, Brent Kelsey. No badge, no uniform, just a plain gray suit that didn't quite fit, creased, borrowed-looking, like it didn't belong on him. Because it didn't. He wasn't there as an officer anymore. He was a defendant. And the charges? Excessive force, civil rights violations, obstruction of justice, falsified reports. The courtroom sat in tense silence as the prosecutor laid out the evidence. Not just the Whole Foods incident, but a full dossier of patterns, complaints, and settlements. Monica's team had done their job and done it thoroughly. 12 women had testified. 3 former officers, 1 internal affairs investigator who had once been told to let it go, and then Monica Ellis. When she took the stand, the room held its breath. But she didn't dramatize. She didn't embellish. She simply told the truth, and the truth was damning. Kelsey pled not guilty, but the evidence said otherwise. It wasn't just a moment of violence. It was a career built on intimidation, enabled by silence, buried in bureaucracy, protected by a badge. And now, the badge was gone. The silence had shattered, and the system, at least for this moment, had finally listened. When the sentence came down, 12 years, federal time, Kelsey didn't flinch. Not outwardly, but from the gallery a soft gasp rose, a ripple of breath. Justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it exhales, quiet and deep. The judge didn't grandstand. He simply stated, "Justice delayed is still justice, but today it is no longer denied." Outside the courthouse, cameras clicked, microphones swarmed. Monica Ellis stood next to the U.S. Attorney and the Director of Civil Rights Enforcement. Her hair was tied back, her blazer sharp, her expression calm. She didn't say much, just one line. "When the law becomes a weapon, it is our duty to take it back." Then she stepped down the stairs. No victory lap, no applause, just purpose. That same week, Monica received a phone call. The DOJ committee lead was on the line. "We've reviewed everything," the voice said. "You built this case in 6 days. You uncovered years of abuse. We want you to lead oversight for systemic abuse cases statewide." Monica looked out her window. The city stretched below her, loud, flawed, human. "I accept," she said. In the weeks that followed, her team opened 3 new investigations, one into an officer in the Western District with a suspicious record of traffic stops, another into a precinct that hadn't had a single civilian complaint logged in 5 years because they'd quietly erased them, and the third into a police union's obstruction of internal audits. The rot, it turned out, wasn't isolated, but now there was someone willing to dig. A few weeks later, Monica was invited to a city event honoring civil service leadership. She didn't like ceremonies, but she went, not for the award, for the people. After the speeches, while standing near the refreshment table, a small girl approached her. 10 years old, brown skin, big eyes, a messy braid, and 2 big shoes. "You're the lady in the video," the girl whispered. Monica knelt. "I am." The girl looked at her shyly. "My mom said, you made the bad man go away." Monica smiled softly. "No," she said, "we made him go away, together." The girl threw her arms around her without asking, and for the first time in weeks, Monica allowed herself to breathe. Justice doesn't always look like sirens and headlines. Sometimes it's a folder on a kitchen table at 2 a.m. Sometimes it's a single woman who refuses to stay quiet. And sometimes it's the moment a man who thought he was untouchable finally learns he never was. Not in the face of truth. Not when the silence ends. Not when someone like Monica Ellis stands up and refuses to sit back down. What do you think? Could justice like this actually happen in real life? Or is this the kind of story we only dream of? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Because the more we talk about it, the harder it is to silence it.